Welcome to Ray Kingdom Sports, and we are here to discuss all of the Sunday games, minus the Chiefs game, and because I played on Sunday Night Football, but we're here to discuss the other games that took place on Sunday. And let's just get right into it. The first game we had is the Colts defeating the Texans 31-0. Yeah, this game was just bad for the Texans from the opening kickoff. Tyrod Taylor started the game with a terrible interception. They didn't do anything else really at all. They didn't do anything this game. They got completely shut out. Carson Wentz, I think, has looked fairly solid most of this year. I mean, he didn't make it, I don't think, any boneheaded plays. I mean, his numbers weren't flashy, but, I mean, you're playing the Texans. You really don't have to do much. They completely beat up on him. Jonathan Taylor had another amazing game. You know, that dude is just an absolute beast. You could argue that he could possibly be in the argument for NFL MVP. You know, the way Tom Brady's been playing, that's going to be a little bit harder for him. But, I mean, Jonathan Taylor has been playing some really, really good football this year. And David Culley is officially the weirdest head coach in football. I think this is the second week in a row that he's benched somebody for weird reasons. I don't know what the deal is with him, what he's trying to prove. I don't keep up with the Texans because they're a god-awful football team. And we'll get into the next team because I think the Texans might honestly be the worst team in football this year. Like, it's not even close. Yeah, the team was bad. Tyrod Taylor got benched, and I mean the Colts obviously pulled Carson Wentz because there's no reason to risk injury for him. But yeah, the Colts absolutely just dominated the Texans. Next, we have my favorite game of the entire weekend, minus the Chiefs game. We have the Lions defeating the Vikings 29-27. Now, before we actually get into the game, I would like to say that I really, really like Dan Campbell. His post-game press conference was just a class act. It was amazing to listen to. Just him giving his respect to all those affected in the shooting in Oxford. That was awesome what Dan Campbell did. You gotta love the guy. He's, you know, whatever you think of as a head coach, he's still it seems like he's one of the nicest guys, and I could see why after the game people celebrated so hard with him. But yeah, the Lions finally did it. Nobody lie here. We all turned into Lions fans in that moment. They finally won a game. Dan Campbell won a game as a head coach, and Jared Goff finally won a game with other than Sean McVay as his head coach. But the Lions did it, and I'll be honest, I thought they were going to lose. I really did. They went for it on fourth down late in that game. That was a terrible play call. Jared Goff fumbled. There was no reason for that play call. They should have just punted it away when they already had the lead. But, I mean, I understand wanting to go for the kill shot, but because they wanted to win badly, but there was absolutely no reason for them to go for it on fourth down on that drive. None whatsoever, because right off of that, the Vikings scored a touchdown. But then you had the greatest drive in Detroit Lions history. They marched down the field, score a game-winning touchdown on what was an amazing final drive by Jared Goff. He looked really, really good in that. I mean, the Vikings, they played god-awful defense in that last play. They just let they played like what they call soft coverage or something, whatever they were saying. Just let the guy catch the ball. Like, that defense of the Vikings was terrible. Didn't even try. But yeah, the Lions did it. And I knew all week. I felt like this was going to be one of those letdown games by Kirk Cousins, the Vikings. The writing was on the wall all season. They've been bad all year. Like, not bad, but inconsistent all year. They only play in close games. And I knew I should have picked the Lions. I really did. There was something I was like, well, this is going to be a letdown game, and the Vikings did not play good at all in the first half. It was like 20-6 at the end of the first half. I knew I should have picked the Lions. There was just something my gut was telling me, pick the Lions, and I didn't, and I should have listened, because your gut feeling is almost right 99% of the time. But yeah, I mean, for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson had another huge game, 182 receiving yards, but that was for nothing, because their defense couldn't stop anything when it really mattered. But yeah, I'm happy for the Lions, and I'm glad they got their win. They've got to be the best 110-1 team of all time. They fought hard all year long, and I'm just so happy that the Lions finally got their first victory. The next game, we have the Giants and the Dolphins. Dolphins won 20-9. Yeah, the Giants are just a really, really bad football team. Mike Glennon was terrible, and they probably would have looked this bad even if Daniel Jones had played. There really wasn't much from this game. I mean, the Dolphins have now won 5 games in a row. They aren't flashy, but they're playing great defense. Tua's playing well. I still think he's the future of the Dolphins. They're not flashy. They don't put up a ton of points, but they don't have to. That's not Tua's game. Tua is just a very efficient, a very good quarterback. It seems like he's finally limiting on the mistakes. I think he's playing very good football right now, and there was just something about Tua that I could never give up on the guy, and I'm glad I didn't, because it looks like he's playing really, really good football. And I love seeing a guy succeed that people continually bash and think that he's the problem. And I feel so bad for him, because earlier this year they were like, oh, Deshaun Watson is going to be going to Miami. I'm glad that didn't go through, because Tua is finally playing some really good football. Jalen Waddle, obviously a star for the Dolphins, because he's had a great few weeks recently, and the Dolphins look like a good team. They may sneak into the playoffs. They really could. They go 9-8. They could probably sneak into the playoffs. The next game, we have the Buccaneers defeating the Falcons 30-17. Yeah, Tom Brady probably won MVP off of this game. I'll be honest. Like, nobody else. I mean, you could probably argue Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Jonathan Taylor if we're doing non-quarterback position. But really, nobody else, I think, has a chance to win MVP, because nobody's been playing consistently well. Like, early on, we thought it was Derek Carr. Then it was probably Mahomes at one point. Then it was Lamar Jackson at one point. Matthew Stafford at one point. Like, it was a rotating door. But the only guy that's consistently played well all season long is Tom Brady. So he probably won it. But I may be just talking garbage out of my mouth right here, but I just feel like the Buccaneers are in cruise control mode. Like, I don't feel like they have to do much in these games right now to win. They're just playing sound offensive football, getting a lead, defense making a couple stops, and then the game's over. Like, it does not feel like right now the Buccaneers are really having to try and do much. Like, they feel like they finally found their stride, and they're just winning their games. And Tom Brady's never lost to the Falcons. And the Falcons themselves are just a bad football team. Their entire team relies on Cordell Patterson. He's the best player on the Falcons. I mean, he was making some great running plays against the Bucs defense, which it's hard to run on. But other than that, like, Cordell Patterson is the Falcons, and the Falcons are just a bad football team. And then early on in this game, like, I was watching Red Zone, and Scott Hansen was going crazy. He was like, Tom Brady's on pace to throw for 80 times, which it makes sense, because he threw over 20 times in the first quarter, something like that. I thought that was crazy. Like, they were just throwing it like crazy with Brady. Him and Gronk are still an unstoppable combo. They always look great. When those two are hitting, it's nearly unstoppable. Tom did throw a terrible pick six at the end of the first half, but hey, I guess everybody has a bad play. He threw for 4 more touchdowns, and Godwin had a monster game with 143 yards. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Tom Brady is probably probably the NFL MVP this season. It's pretty safe to say. Like, if Tom Brady just cruises to the end of the season, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say he's gonna win MVP. Next game, we have the Eagles defeating the Jets 33-18. This game was very close and fun to start. Like, the teams were just trading touchdowns. But, I mean, we're talking about the Jets here, and they just completely fell apart in the second half. Gardner Minshew Mania was running wild all over New York. He's looking like he could legit be a starting quarterback. He played great when he was in Jacksonville. He played great in this game. He was fun to watch in this game. Dallas Goedert had an amazing game, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think, like, I don't want to say there's a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia, but, like, Gardner Minshew, I feel like, is a guy that can throw the football, which is something Jalen Hurts really, really struggles to do, it seems like, a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, this game was close, fun to start with. The Jets look surprisingly good to start the game, but they don't have a kicker. They missed 2 extra points, I think. Couldn't convert a 2-point conversion, and then Zach Wilson was just pretty bad in the second half. But yeah, Eagles defeated the Jets 33-18. The next game, we have the Cardinals defeating the Bears 33-22. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins looked great in their first game back. Even in the bad weather, they look good. Still, Kyler Murray's speed is one of the most impressive things to see. Like, his legs just move really quickly. But, I mean, other than that, there wasn't really much from this game really either. Andy Dalton was terrible in this game, threw 4 interceptions. And because of those interceptions, the Cardinals kept getting set up with really, really short fields and didn't have to do much on offense. So they didn't really have to, the Cardinals themselves didn't have to do much. Their defense played great, and their offense was just finishing drives that they should have. So the Bears are just a really bad football team, and I think the Cardinals are just proving that they're probably the best team in football this year. Next, we have the Chargers and Bengals. Chargers won 41-22. This game just felt like it was each of these teams' seasons put into one. The Chargers jump out to a 24-0 lead. The Bengals were struggling, turning the ball over. Jamar Chase dropped a pass that, led to an interception. Justin Herbert was on fire. He was making really great throws to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. They even ran a Philly special for a 2-point conversion. And I have something to say about that play. Teams have been running that play since Philadelphia did in the Super Bowl. It feels like at least once a week. And I still don't understand how defenses don't know how to defend that play. You see that play ran every week and converted every single week, and nobody can stop it. And it confuses me. I don't understand why. Every team runs that play, and nobody can stop it. But after the Chargers jump out to that 24-0 lead, they felt like they were starting to charger this game. They turned the ball over. The Bengals were able to get the game within 24-22. And Burrow was playing fairly well on a bad pinky. The pinky itself did not look good. But then turnovers were just the story of the game for the Bengals. Joe Mixon fumbled the game away basically for the Bengals. The Chargers ran it for a touchdown. Basically sealed the game. But yeah, these two teams are really weird. The Chargers look terrible against the Broncos last week. Then they look really elite this week. The Bengals blew out the Steelers last week and then look really bad this week. These teams are very inconsistent, and these teams are going to be fighting till the end to make a playoff spot because they're so inconsistent. I just feel like these teams struggle to put a full game together and look good. And the last note I have about this game is I had it on the second screen, and this game just felt like it wouldn't end. There was still like 8 minutes left when every other game ended. And it was taking forever. But yeah, this game was basically these teams' seasons put into one. Herbert looked good at times. Joe Burrow looked really good at times. They both looked pretty bad at times. So this game felt like it was each of these teams' seasons put into one game. Next, we have the Jaguars-Rams. Obviously, not much from this game. The Rams won 37-7. I'm glad the Rams got a win, but they still need to beat a real team. It does not impress me. They beat up on a really bad Jaguars team. And everybody says that Trevor Lawrence has this generational talent. I have not seen it from him once this year. He's been bad all year. But the Rams got the win. Cooper Kupp is the best receiver in football right now. I mean, even when the Rams were struggling, he was still one of the best players on their team, and he looked fantastic against the Jags. And there's really not much else from this game because the Rams beat up on a lesser opponent. Next, we have the Washington football team defeating the Raiders 17-15. Washington has been sneakily good. They've won 4 in a row now. They have a small chance to compete for the Cowboys for the division. It's a very small chance, but if the Cowboys keep losing games and the Washington keeps, wins a couple more games, they could make it into the playoffs and they could be competing for the division at the end of the year. Heineke led them to a game-winning field goal drive. They're not that good of a team on offense. Like Antonio Gibson's probably their best player. Logan Thomas, I think, is who it was. He's back. He looked fairly good. Unfortunately, I think he did get injured again. But their defense is starting to look really good. I still think Taylor Heineke's a really fun guy to watch play football. And I think the Raiders stink. They're probably going to finish 9-8 or 8-9. And they always start off hot and then they free fall every single year. Some are going to argue that last play was a pass interference play. Whatever. It is what it is. The Raiders have been pretty bad all year long. Next, we have the Steelers and the Ravens. The Steelers won 20-19. Big Ben announced earlier in the week that this was going to be his last year, more than likely. And I just think it's fitting that when he announces this, he led what would be a game-winning drive. And it was against the Ravens. Overall, this game was a very defensive-heavy game. I think each team's defense played fairly well in this game. Neither offense really could get anything going. I still don't think the Steelers have much of an offense, even though Dante Johnson had a fairly solid game. But he did drop a TD pass that was, in my opinion, one of Big Ben's best passes all year. Najee Harris still gets a load of carries. And there's times where it still feels like the Steelers run 2 plays, a check down to Najee or a really deep pass on the sideline. Their offense is just, it feels like it's nothing. They don't really feel like they have an offense. But Ben was able to lead to a touchdown drive. The offense for the Ravens looked really, really bad. I think it's finally caught up with how bad the Ravens have played all season. Lamar really has a turnover issue. I think he has 5 in the last 2 weeks. And the Dolphins seem to have given the league a blueprint on how to contain Lamar Jackson, because this has been the team all year, and they've looked pretty bad all year long, in my opinion. The Dolphins, like I said, gave them the blueprint to the league, and Lamar has not been playing really that well at all this season. I think the Ravens as a whole, they rely way too much on Lamar Jackson, and if he's not playing well, the team is bad. And then Mark Andrews dropping the game-winning 2-point conversion didn't help. But this game was just a fight till the end. It felt like a Ravens-Steelers game. The AFC North is the weirdest division in football because everybody legit has a chance. Nobody seems to want to win it. And the Steelers also had the worst extra point attempt I have ever seen in my life. And the final game we have is the 49ers and the Seahawks. Seahawks won 30-23. The Seahawks did get off to a hot start with a fake punt for a touchdown. This was honestly one of the Seahawks' best games of the season. Gerald Everett, though, had a really bad game, dropping passes. One caused an interception. He fumbled on the shovel pass. He did not have a good game whatsoever. The Seahawks defense caused a safety to tie the game. Jimmy Garoppolo had a really, really bad game, throwing 2 interceptions. Did not look good. The Seahawks were able to make a stand at the end of the game to win. Even though the 49ers did struggle, George Kittle did have a dominant performance, almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. The NFC itself, though, is so top-heavy, 1 through 5, that I still think at one point the 49ers probably could still make it in because, like I said, it's top-heavy, and the 6, 7 seeds are probably going to be wide open for the rest of the season. And that is my recap for NFL Week 13. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of this week, and I'll see you in the next one.